All right, welcome back. I am with my first period class, and I just want to say, put it on record, that these guys are awesome. They come in here ready to work every day, fired up, and it's been an awesome class. So today we want to continue working on some code blocks, and what we want to do today is to get our, in my case, it's going to be my image sprite, which is that is my Android dude with some attitude with the headphones on. Kind of looks like me with the headphones, doesn't it? So that's my image sprite me, and he's got his headphones on just like I do right now. And he's going to be moving randomly throughout the screen. Now, we have to understand how big our screen is here, okay? So at this point in time, what we want to do is move this sprite over to this very left-hand corner, and I want to find out how big this canvas is. So if you go down and you look at his x and y coordinates, his x and y coordinates are at 249, 258. That's going to be very important for us to pay attention to, because what we're going to do is we have to understand that the width and height of my Android image sprite is 60 by 60. So you know, I'm going to have to add, this is going to be, you're going to have to add 60 onto this guy, and that's the only distance you want to go to, because you don't want him to go all the way to the edge of the screen, then he'll be off the screen. You can't handle that, so you can't have that. So what you have to do is you have to do the math here, and you're going to have to do his width of your screen, okay? That's 249, 258, and you're going to have to add 60 to that. So we want to do the math and figure that out. So if you guys look at this, all right, so here I am, I'm on my smart notebook here, and wow, that's awful. But you guys are going to have to pretend with me that that is a straight line. So this is my screen here. You guys with me? Matter of fact, this is not my screen. What is this? This is my canvas. This canvas is 300 by 300. Okay? And that is in pixels. Okay? So you now have an image sprite that is 60 by 60. Okay, so I'm doing a visual here so you guys can do the math. So what's the farthest I can come over to the left here? If I want to put this sprite right up against this wall of this canvas, what's the farthest I can come over? Who can do the math on that? If I have to keep this pixel from going off the bottom, and this is 60 here, then you're going to have to do, you know, y minus 60 here, which is going to give you the y can only equal 240. So when we do our random number generator, you're going to have to use these 240s, 0 to 240. Now, it's okay to go 0, because if I go to 0, you are positioning the top left corner of your sprite. Okay? And if you go to 0, you can still have your sprite on your screen. But over here, on this side, on the right-hand side, you can't. You can't go all the way to the right. You can't go to 300, because if you go to 300, Mr. Smiley Face over here, that's 300 right there, and your Smiley is over here, and he's off the page. Do you guys understand that? Thumbs up if you understand that. Okay, because I'm getting ready to do math here, and you have to understand the math behind it. We're on a 300 by 300 canvas. You can't let your sprite go to 300, and if you do, you won't be able to see them. All right, so here we go. So now I'm going back into Android. All right, I'm going to go back into my blocks, and I'm going to call my timer, clock. Okay, so when the clock ticks, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and set my clock interval. Let's go ahead and instantiate the screen. Have you guys ever instantiated a screen before? This is when the screen originally pops up. And this is called screen 1 initialize. When it initializes, I'm going to go ahead and set the clock timer. Okay, so let's go ahead and set the clock timer interval to, and let's do some math here. And I'm going to set that to, remember, 1,000 is how many seconds? Is 1,000 milliseconds? Yes, 1 second, that's correct. So if I wanted this to move a half a second, I'm going to have to put in how much in here? If 1,000 is 1 second, how much is a half a second? Yeah, 500. Okay, so if I set that to 500, then every half a second, this thing should move. So now I set my clock interval. I'm good there. And now I'm going to say, okay, when the clock fires, the clock is always going to fire. Okay, the clock will always fire. So now I'm going to say, okay, image sprite me. I want the image sprite me to move to okay, so I'm going to set its X and Y. Okay, I'm going to set its X and Y to a random number. And now that I did that mathematical screen there, you should understand these numbers. So I want a random integer. Copy this. And I want to go from 0, right, because I can go 0 on my screen, to 240. Okay. And this one's going to be the same thing, 0 to 240. Okay. And I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to run that. All right, so that works perfectly. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to have the image sprite so when the image sprite is touched, okay, when you press on the image sprite, what should happen? Well, now we need to create a variable called score. Okay, so you're going to create a variable called score. Okay, and you're going to set that score to mathematically a 0. And then you're going to come down here and you're going to say if the image sprite is touched, then you want to increase your score. So I'm going to set my global score to get score, and no, sorry, I did that wrong. Need to do math here. So I want to say, okay, this is my global score plus how much? Okay, so you get 1. And then all you do is set that into your label. Okay, I'll put that into my label time, or on my label score. Set the text to get the score. Okay, and now if I run that again, when I click on my okay. So now let's have some fun here. I can use my text to speech here. I love Iris, and I can say I can put in like a I can put in a text here that says "ooh, got me." How do you spell ooh? How do you spell ooh? Huh. Ooh, got me. Okay, so you guys see what I'm doing? So like, ooh, watch me. Ooh, watch me. Huh? I know, it's because you got him. So now that's working perfectly. Okay. Um, so what I can do here is I could put a join in for scores if I want, and I could say like here, this is your score colon, and then here it'll put that score in there, and that should update. So about a half a second's pretty quick. Okay. So now let's go ahead and do the reset button. What should the reset button do? Who can tell me what the reset button should do? Reset your score, right? Reset the score back to 0. So let's go to button reset. When you click on it, this is very easy now with global variables. So your global score is going to just equal 0. So you just set it back to 0. And as always, you need to put it in your label. So now that should work. And I go back to 0 there. That works perfectly. All right. What else should happen here? Now, if you want to do voice recognition, all right, so now if I want to have a game timer, right, you need 2 clocks here. Why do we need 2 clocks? One clock is running my Sprite. That's all that clock is doing. Are you with me? And now we could use another clock to run a game time. How long do you think the game should last for? 60 seconds, or maybe you could have levels, right? Each level 60 seconds. And then maybe each level, you know, you change the interval and the guy moves faster and faster. Okay? So I can go in here and go to my sensors and I can put in another clock. Okay, and this is now clock 2. And I'll call this clock timer. And this will be my timer. And what I can do in here, actually what I can do is here is I can go to this label. And if you make this simple here and just put this as 60, okay, then this becomes, if I put it as 60, this becomes really simple then. And what I can do here is go to clock timer. And when clock timer, when it runs, then what I'm going to do is LBL time, set the text equal to and then I can go back here to set it to LBL time text -1. So I got to do the math, and I'm going to put -1 in here, and then I'll put a math in here -1. Okay. Or if you wanted to, you know, have the time listed up there, then what you could do also is you could create a variable for it, and then just subtract the variable. So if you want to see how we do that, this is a good lesson on how to do another variable. So we'll call this game time. And we'll say game time is initially at 60. And then, so then what I could do here is go to my LBL time and set the text to get my variable. And that would be my game time. So when the game starts, it would set that to, and let's go ahead and now I can do a join text again if I want. And just to be very clear to my users of what I'm doing, now I can put in text here that say, go ahead and join this. So I want time, period, colon, and then here I can put in my variable. go ahead and get the time. And then down here, what I can do is I can run a variable right here, and I can say go ahead and set time to get time minus 1. And then once again here, I would have to go ahead and duplicate this label, and I'll say this is LBL time, and I won't say this is score, but this is time, and put that exactly like you did, and then this is your game time. And then now when I run this, okay, so let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to reset my connection, AI companion, and scan that in. You scan that in, and let's see how this works. All right, so my time is not running backwards, so now we got to go check out to see why. Okay, so set LBL time text to time 60 seconds. And then down here, when the clock timer starts, you want to set LBL time text to okay, I did this wrong. That is why right there. There's a mistake right there. So I want to go ahead and set my variable to let's take this blue part off here. There we go. That is why. So I want to set my game time to game time minus 1, and now it's going backwards. And now it's working. Okay? And now, like, we can make games like level over, and now what we can do an if statement here. Okay? I can do a logical control statement. And I can say, okay, if logic, if my get LBO game time is equal to 0, then what do I want to do? Well, I want to shut my clocks off. Okay? I want to go ahead and say clock 1 stop running. So that's my no, let's throw that away. I don't want that one. I want set clock 1 set timer enabled to false. So I want to turn it off. Okay? So then that means when you reset, then you want to duplicate this. Now your reset gets a little bit bigger, and you want to set this back to true. Okay, to start it running again. Okay? You guys see how I did that? So once you get down to 60, once your 60 seconds is over, then that Android guy stops jumping around the page. It's turned off. And then when you hit reset, your score goes back to 0, and then you start that game over again. Now, that reminds me then, when I set this back to reset, then I got to set my other global variable. Okay. Who else do I have to? I got to set my game time to be 60 again. Okay, so I got to set this back to 60 and let it start running again. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this, see if it works. So that works perfectly. I did a usability study on it. Now, when this clock timer gets to 0 also, So now I need to say if, do another if in here. You know, actually I could just kind of duplicate all this. Matter of fact, let's just do that. Okay. Show you how to duplicate. Work smarter, not harder. Okay. So I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm going to say if global game time equals 0, okay, then actually I don't even need this, okay. Then I need to go ahead and set my timer. Also set it enabled to be false. Okay, so then I want that game time to turn off also. So reset, go back to 60. So now let's upgrade this a little bit and say if, okay, if game time. So let me do another if statement here. I love if statements. So I could say if game time is equal to, I can copy this. Duplicate all that. Delete that block. If game time is equal to 10 seconds, I can have the lovely Iris come on and say text to speech. "10-second warning." What should she say? 10 seconds remaining? 10 seconds? Or 10 seconds remaining? 10-second warning? 10-second. I don't think she knows. 10-second. 10-second warning. Okay. And then if it ever hits 10, then Iris should come on and say that. So I'm going to connect my emulator. So I got to give a shout out to my man Jalen right here. He just said, and this is a good idea, that what's going on right now in my game is that when the clock hits 0 and my Android dude stops moving, I'm still able to press them, and I can get like 40 points right there at the end of the game, and you can't get points anymore. So Jalen had a brilliant idea that when the timer runs out, that we need to take my Android dude. So let's go image sprite dot visible, set its visibility to false. That's correct. Yeah, brilliant idea. Okay. Great job, Jalen. Okay, so that's what we're going to do there. You need to get yourself some candy for that one. All right. So when it hits 0, that guy should be shut off. Should we put a high score in here? Should we allow him to have a high score and keep track of a high score? Okay. So let's go back to my designer and let's put in a high score label. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this one LBL high score. Okay. And I will go ahead and put in here high score. Okay, and let's make that 24 like the other ones. And what color should that be? Maybe a blue. Nice pretty blue. And that's kind of hard to see, but I kind of like it. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my blocks. And inside your blocks here, you need to make another, I'll just copy this guy. And now I'll set this as 0, but now I'll call this guy high score. Okay, and now I have a high score variable. And now I can say at the end of the game, I can do an if statement and say something like if, let's do a comparison. 10-second warning. I don't want to do that. Let's do a mathematical, let's do a math greater than sign. Okay. There it is. If it's greater than, if the score, so variables, if get score is greater than, let's go ahead and get our high score, then let's go ahead and set our label. So we'll go to LBL high score, set text to then let's go ahead and set our variable, set high score equal to score and set LBL text to get high score. Okay, so that should be an if statement. Do you guys see what I'm saying? The first time, whatever you score should be the high score because it's 0. Are you with me? So let's go ahead and try this. Okay, so now we just figured out when I hit reset, my dude's still invisible. So now you got to go back up here to your reset button, and I got to go to image sprite, set image sprite visible, okay, to true. Okay. And, you know, you might want to do the same thing here. All right, so let's go ahead and run that, and we'll be back. Okay, now I'm figuring out why it's not resetting. And the reason why is that when I hit reset, I set the time back to 60, but I never set the time back into the label. So you got to go ahead and get this to game time. Okay. Now you hit reset. Okay, now what happened to my timer? What happened to my timer here? Okay, so now my timer's not running. Why is my timer not running? Well, when I hit the reset button, I have to reset the timer, right? So I set the game time to 60, and then I have to hit, I'm going to copy and paste this one. And then I have to make this as my, sorry, wrong one. My clock timer's got to be enabled back to true also. There we go. Okay. And now my dude is disappearing, so I got to figure out why.